From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
And now at 11 on this Sunday night, how local airports are dealing with the surge of holiday travel following the shutdown. As the FAA says this will be the busiest Thanksgiving in more than 15 years.
Well, we had a little bit of a thing in the airport. We only left 30 minutes late.
This flight today was really quick and easy.
And then will they or won't they in the East Bay as Berkeley goes back and forth over holding its annual holiday fair. Plus, a chain restaurant slips through the cracks in Sebastopol while the city is calling it an oversight they just can't correct.
It's an error. The city of Sebastopol's taken ownership and admitted we made an error, an administrative error. The consumer now will decide whether they like it or not with their pocketbook.
But we begin in the Bay Area's airports with Thanksgiving now just 4 days away. This year, the things have been complicated by the recent government shutdown, which saw thousands of TSA agents and air traffic controllers unpaid for more than a month. And that led to delays and to cancellations. And now, a little over a week since the shutdown ended, all of those workers are having to gear up for the busiest time of the year. AAA is projecting nearly 82 million people will travel at least 50 miles from their home for Thanksgiving. About 6 million are expected to take a domestic flight. Amanda Harry was at SFO to chat with some of those who are heading out early and who are actually pleasantly surprised.
After weeks of delays and canceled flights because of the government shutdown, the scene at San Francisco International Airport Sunday night was a relief for travelers.
Completely boring.
That's how Stuart Alsop affectionately described his travel experience, but admitted there was one hiccup.
Well, we had a little bit of a thing in the airport. They couldn't get the baggage door open on the airplane, and it took them a while to figure that out. We only left 30 minutes late.
Alsop lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, but is celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday in San Francisco.
Part of my family's here. The family down there wasn't sticking around for Thanksgiving, so we came up here. We used to live here. I lived here for 35 years.
His grandson's birthday is earlier in the week, and they have a lot to celebrate.
My grandson just had the winning touchdown in a football game, so I'm going to treat him like a star.
Despite the recent government shutdown impacting air travel earlier this month, AAA is still predicting a 2% increase in Thanksgiving domestic air travel compared to 2024. The Flight Information Board at SFO listed the majority of flights as on time Sunday night. But Vivian Kwok anticipated a busy travel week in the coming days, which is why she was going home to Redwood City on Sunday.
It's usually more crazy during the holiday season. We kind of want it to be a little more relaxed.
Kwok visited family in Vancouver, and even though they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in November, some of the activities were similar.
Definitely did a lot of souvenir shopping. We definitely ate a whole bunch of food, so it felt like Thanksgiving.
Jexi Naponge was getting back from a work trip just in time for the holiday. She was grateful to touch down at SFO without any flight issues.
I was like, I'm so glad I'm back in the Bay Area. There's nothing like the Bay.
For Alsop, he's a seasoned traveler. He's already visited the Bay Area several times this year, and those would be considered small trips. In the last few weeks, he flew out to the UAE.
I just came back from Abu Dhabi, and all my flights were on time in both directions, and there was 3 flights in all either way.
Well, it's nice when it works out. Here's how Oakland Airport looked today. Fairly busy, but nothing major. Few people told us that it was smooth sailing so far.
Traveling from here to there was better than traveling like anywhere else. It was so short, the commute was so good. It was like a 30-minute commute, 45-minute commute. But overall, it was a very easy way to navigate.
We had flown like a month ago from Europe, and it was really crazy. But this flight today was really quick and easy.
Good. Meanwhile, those TSA agents are finally feeling financial relief. The agency said that about 90% of workers have their back pay, and the rest will get theirs tomorrow. Grocery prices are on the minds of a lot of people as Turkey Day approaches. A recent survey shows that 2/3 of Americans expect to pay more for groceries this year because of tariffs and inflation. But turns out that might not necessarily be the case if you are strategic about how you spend. Overall, the cost of groceries is up nearly 3% compared to a year ago. A lot of that is because of things like beef and bananas and coffee, which aren't exactly Thanksgiving staples, except for the coffee, I guess. In fact, according to a study by Wells Fargo, the price of everything from turkeys and dinner rolls to stuffing is actually down this year, except for whipped cream. It's up a bit. You know, there's always exceptions. Whipped cream is up 3% compared to a year ago, but all of the foregoing is only if you stick to store brands instead of name brands. That still leaves some folks in the Bay Area who can't afford Thanksgiving dinner, which is why CBS News Bay Area is running our annual Food for Bay Area's program. And tonight, we're highlighting a bakery in Pacific Grove that is helping out by offering free loaves of bread to those in need. Pavel's Bakery is only open on Saturdays, but people consistently stop in for their baked goods. The owner, Paul Wainscoat, also sets aside free ciabatta loaves available to anybody in need. He says that it's his way of offering support to people who are struggling to make ends meet.
What's really sad is that we've accepted that people can live without a home, but they can't live without food. So we still have that power.
And if you want to support our Food for Bay Area Families initiative, you can scan the QR code that's right there on your screen. You'll be able to donate food or funds or your time to food banks across the Bay Area. Just head to kpix.com/give. Meantime, record number of people are expected to spend the upcoming Thanksgiving weekend shopping, of all things. According to the National Retail Federation, sales are expected to reach $1 trillion for the first time ever, mostly thanks to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But despite the positive outlook for retailers, a new CBS News poll finds only 32% of Americans think the economy is in good shape. Well, in Berkeley, one holiday shopping tradition almost came to an end. The annual Telegraph Holiday Street Fair was almost canceled for running afoul of a new city fire code. But apparently you can fight City Hall. And John Ramos has that story.
Here on Telegraph Avenue, the city of Berkeley was ascribing to the old notion that you can never be too safe. But after some public outcry, it looks like cooler heads have prevailed. The Telegraph Avenue Holiday Street Fair was gearing up for its 42nd year, offering homemade gifts and live music when they got the bad news. The city said the event would have to move because of a state fire code that requires 26 feet of clear roadway on streets with buildings over 30 feet high. That's to allow ladder trucks to utilize their stabilizing outriggers in case of a fire. Berkeley resident Charles Siegel co-authored an op-ed piece appealing to the city's common sense.
That doesn't really work in Berkeley because in Berkeley, the typical street has only 22 feet of clear roadway. And it's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. We'd have to remove parking on one side of the street of almost all the two-lane streets in downtown and South Campus, and all the residential streets that have apartment buildings.
Siegel discovered that the 26-foot rule was optional and that the code wasn't being enforced the rest of the year, just during the Telegraph Street Fair and for the Juneteenth parade on Adeline Street. Siegel was upset that the enforcement seemed selective and arbitrary.
City staff said, we're applying the law and we are moving the street festival away from Telegraph Avenue, and the Telegraph Avenue Street Fair will be on this block of Adeline Street where there are no buildings over 30 feet tall.
But the Telegraph Avenue businesses think the Telegraph Avenue Holiday Fair needs to happen on Telegraph Avenue. Doris Moskowitz owns Moe's Books, and she also wrote a letter of complaint to the city.
I understand that it's important to be safe, but I also think it's important to be happy and to have a little bit of hope and to feel good this time of year. And that people are looking to Berkeley as a place where people have a sort of sense of actually what's reasonable.
Perhaps Doris's letter did the trick, or maybe it was all the other people who complained, but the city relented and approved the permit for the street fair to happen on Telegraph as usual. Louis Cuneo is one of the street vendors selling artistic photographs and has been participating in the holiday fair since the 1980s. He says people feel the street fair is important to give the city life.
It was too much of an outcry against it. The city has to be a little open to open to possibilities.
I think in Berkeley we need to make room for everybody, you know, and if the vendors who've been coming here for over 40 years want to come here, we need to make that possible.
So the 42nd annual Telegraph Holiday Fair will continue, and Siegel says the city is crafting a new fire code that may include an exemption for street fairs citywide.
The city is expected to take up the matter on December 3rd, and meantime, the street fair will begin December 6th and end on the 21st. And still ahead tonight at 11, after a disappointing performance against Stanford in the big game, Cal's football coach is out. And then details on the latest tragedy at Big Sur. Sorry to report that after high surf swept 3 people into the water, we're hearing from one diver who is warning of the dangers. Darren?
And we're starting to see the fog build back in again tonight. Some places in the Bay didn't see the sun at all today. Might have to go through that again for a time tomorrow. We'll put the Futurecast on it, and we're also going to talk about the thin blue strip going down the coast. One more day to get through. Beach hazard statement. Risk for sneaker waves. We'll talk about that first coming up in the next visit to make sure that you stay safe if you're going to the beach tomorrow. Forecast coming up next.